Streaming from outside the mainstream, Beyond a Pale, the podcast, hosted by Paleface.
I am jazzed about today's featured guest, Adam Mendler. He is the CEO of the Veloz Group, where he co-founded and oversees ventures across a wide variety of industries, such as Beverly Hills Chairs, the leading seller of refurbished Herman Miller Aeron chairs in the country, Custom Tobacco, a one-of-a-kind e-commerce platform where customers can create fully customized private label cigars in real time, and Veloz Solutions, technology consulting and software development practice. Adam is a nationally acclaimed thought leader, writer, and speaker. As well, he hosts the popular podcast, 30-Minute Mentors. Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
It's great to have you. I was excited that you would honor me. So even after that introduction, I know there's much more to your resume and experience. So can you please share for the audience the origin story of Adam Mendler?
Wow. I mean, this could be the entire podcast. I don't even know where to start, but there's only one place to start. The origin story is really where it all began. I'm from LA, from a suburb in LA called Tarzana. So Tarzana is a part of the San Fernando Valley, and born and raised in really just a great community within Los Angeles, and grew up on a street called Veloz Avenue, which might sound familiar to listeners because my company, the Veloz Group, got its name from Veloz Avenue.
Nice shout out there.
Yeah, growing up on Veloz Avenue was really a formative part of not only my childhood, but who I am today and how I think about business and life, and really just a big part of everything I do. So from Veloz, I went on to college, went to USC, had a great experience there. After USC, moved to New York, worked on Wall Street for a couple of years, was working for what was then the largest hedge fund in the world, a company called D.E. Shaw. And after D.E. Shaw, went and got my MBA, went back to LA, came back here to go to UCLA Business School. And while I was at UCLA Business School, did a couple of different internships in the entertainment industry. So worked for Universal Pictures, big studio, worked for William Morris Endeavor, big talent agency. And when I graduated, I went back into the financial services industry, working for Credit Suisse, huge global bank. And about a year and a half into my job at Credit Suisse, I was 28, had these big corporate experiences under my belt, and felt like if there was ever a time in my life to do something entrepreneurial, it was that moment. I was never going to have any more energy. I was making pretty good money, but not the kind of money that I couldn't walk away from. It wasn't,
right.
I didn't have the golden handcuffs, so to speak. And it was just the right time for me. I was really ready at that moment to do something a little bit more meaningful, a little bit more impactful, was ready to make my mark and ready to really make a difference in the world and help impact other people. And the Veloz Group was the vehicle for me to try to do that.
Well, that's excellent. I was just excited because I've researched you, and you just seem like a prolific man. So what I would love to pick your brain about today is about managing energy rather than time. Real work over busy work. It seems that many of us today move at a frantic or frenzied pace, yet we're not always as productive as we could be. Why do you think that is, Adam, and what can we do to fix that?
Yeah, that's a really great point and a really great question. And I think there are a few things that we should think about. First thing we need to do is we need to really take a step back and ask ourselves, what are we spending our time doing? are we spending our time on things that fit into the following three buckets? Number one, is this something that I love doing? Is this something that I really enjoy? Number two, is this something that I'm good at doing? Or is this something that I'm not really all that good at? And number three, is this something that is making some sort of positive difference? Am I making an impact on others? And not to say that everything you do in your life has to fit within all three of those buckets, but should fit into at least one of those three. And what I find happens all too often is we fall into habits, we fall into patterns that just become routine. And when something becomes a routine, by definition, you just keep doing it over and over again without even really giving all too much thought as to why you're doing it, until you take a step back and ask yourself, why am I doing this? How can I get out of this and just snap it? I'll give you an example that has been meaningful to me. Since coronavirus, I've been able to get out of a really bad habit, which is over the last several years, I've consumed so much cable news. And that was just a huge part of my daily routine. I get home and put on cable news, and any listeners who know anything about me can probably guess which channel or channels I've put on. It wasn't Fox News. And it just doesn't enhance your life. You can learn, not to say that all cable news programs are bad. That isn't my message at all. But it's a habit that I think we can break. It's something that I don't know that we need to spend even just having it on in the background. You could shut the TV off and instead focus on what you're doing. Be more mindful. So my advice, one big piece of advice, is to really take stock of what you're doing each day, what you're doing every day, and try to figure out, are the things that I'm doing things that bring me joy? Are they things that are productive? Are they things that are productive for me and or productive for others? And if they're not really any of those, maybe they're cluttering your mind, maybe they're cluttering your productivity. And once you break a habit, it's not that hard to just keep moving on.
And create those new habits.
Exactly.
Right. So when you learn what it is that you're productive at and what you're good at, what about the importance of flow time for working smarter? How destructive is cognitive switching and that illusion of multitasking that many people, I think, fall prey to?
You know, it's a really good question, and it's a topic that I have very mixed feelings about. I think that there are certain activities that are really important to be completely locked in on. You need to be in the zone. You need to be laser focused. You need to avoid all forms of multitasking and just focus as narrowly and as exclusively as possible. And I think there are other things that you probably can successfully do well while multitasking.
Yeah.
And I think it's really a judgment call. I think the most important thing is to have the mindfulness to assess which activity you're engaging in and whether it's an activity that requires your full attention or whether it's something that you can do well while still multitasking. I can tell you, for me, there are certain activities that require me to be fully in the zone, that require me to be fully engaged, to be fully focused. And there are other things that allow me to multitask. I can watch a baseball game and shoot out text messages, and swipe on dating apps, and maybe do a little bit of work in the background and
right.
do 3 or 4 things and feel good about it. But at the same time, when I'm in creative mode and when I'm really trying to write an article, or when I'm conducting an interview, when I'm going one-on-one with one of my guests on 30-minute mentors, I'm locked in. So I don't think that you can't do either or, but you just kind of need to pick your spots.
What do you do to get yourself into that creative mode? Is there any kind of regimen that you have for that?
I don't really have a particular routine. It's not like I'm a cold shower guy, or I'm someone that does 3 hours of meditation. Or when I was in high school, I had a teacher that would literally hang upside down and have the blood rush through his veins. And I don't have any kind of crazy rituals like that. I've always been good about being able to focus and being able to lock myself in when I need to. And when it comes to getting into some kind of creative mode, what I find is that a lot of it comes when you're not necessarily trying.
Right.
A lot of the articles that I've written that I'm proudest of, that I feel like have made the greatest impact, are articles that have just sort of come to me. Maybe I'm watching TV and an idea sprouts, or I'm having a conversation with a friend and you have that aha moment, or you're reading an article and you kind of, an idea triggers and you say, oh, well, what about this? Or what about that? And a lot of it really comes down to having a sense of awareness, having a sense of where you want to go, where you want to be, and being able to put things together, and not necessarily trying to force things, because when you do try to force things and you're a creator, it's really hard, and I don't know that it's possible.
Right. So your podcast, 30-Minute Mentoring, I want to know more about that. As far as what was the genesis behind you starting that? Because it's a great podcast, and I just want to know what made you or inspired you to want to start that podcast.
Great question. And there were a few things that contributed to it. It was something that I really wanted to do for a long time. And finally, earlier this year, January, I launched it. And I've been going one-on-one with the top leaders in the country for a few years now. I've interviewed over 300 of America's top leaders. And the interviews that I've done have not been in podcast format. They're in written format, 1,000 to 2,000 word articles. And I've just felt for a long time that this is the platform for it. This is an avenue, a forum where I could really go in much greater depth and really give guests an opportunity to tell their stories a little bit better, and give the audience an opportunity to learn more and engage in a deeper fashion.
Right. Only to be a fly on the wall, right?
Yeah, exactly. I love, even though I'm an active participant as the interviewer, I'm also a fly on the wall. I'm also an active listener.
Yeah, so, I'm listening from you. I'm learning from you right now.
So you have the right mindset, because as someone who hosts a podcast, you understand as well as anyone that you're learning with your listeners. It's such an amazing opportunity to learn as you gain the perspectives of all these really interesting people that you talk to.
Yes.
And what really sparked the interest for 30-Minute Mentors to kind of take it a step beyond my Lessons in Leadership interview series. I've always been a big believer in the power of mentorship. I personally have been a very big beneficiary of mentorship. But I think that mentorship comes in different shapes and different sizes. I've spoken quite a bit about a concept that I call mini mentors. And in contrast to traditional mentors, and traditional mentors I think are extremely important. I've had great mentors in my life who are still a part of my life and who still provide great guidance and advice to me. But what mini mentors can do for you is you can connect with all kinds of people once or twice or once a year or once every couple of years or once every 6 months. And you can connect with subject matter experts, or you can connect with someone who might have experience particularly relevant to what you're going through, or might have the answer to the question that you need answered. And it's a lot easier to access a mini mentor than it is to access a true lifelong mentor. It's not as involved a relationship. And what I'm trying to do through 30-Minute Mentors is give listeners access through the click of a button. All you've got to do is go to 30minutementors.com or type in 30-Minute Mentors on iTunes or Spotify or Google Play or any podcasting app and subscribe, and you have access to the best network of mentors available. The most successful CEOs, founders, celebrities, athletes, generals, admirals, people who have risen to the absolute top of their endeavors, who are spending 30 minutes providing listeners with incredibly applicable insights and advice that anyone tuning in can take into their lives and into their careers to become more successful personally and more successful professionally. So that's what really sparked the concept behind 30-Minute Mentors. One side of it was wanting to take these conversations with America's most successful people and go deeper and give it to an audience in a format that I think they would really be able to benefit from. And number two was to take my view of mentorship and really make it accessible to as many people as possible.
That sounds so good. I love the idea of the paying it forward. And so mentoring is such I think an admirable thing and such an important thing. And I think that a lot of folks should seek mentors and people should seek to mentor. I love the teaching to learn as a way to improve yourself. It's an amazing way to sharpen the saw. So Adam, is there anything else that you would like to share or leave us with before we wrap up today's show?
I would really just want to thank you for firstly, the kind words about me. I'm truly flattered. Beyond that, to thank you for the great questions, to thank you for the platform, for the time, and to thank your listeners for tuning in. Hopefully anyone listening enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed participating, because
I'm sure they will.
I love talking about this stuff. It's not a job for me. It's not a vocation. This is what I love doing.
I can tell it's a passion. I urge all my listeners to go to 30minutementors.com. Adam Mendler, this has been a fun and informative time. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Godspeed.
Thank you.
If you're interested in being a guest on Beyond a Pale, the podcast, please visit beyondapale.blog/guest.